Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Finding Your Voice. And I'm excited today because I have someone that has been by my side, walking by my side, nudging me in the back and giving me guidance and direction. And I know you're going to learn a lot from him. And this is Cyrus Webb. Let me tell you a little bit about him, and then I'll turn the floor over to him to give you more about himself, because this is a lot. He is a radio and air personality, editor in chief of Conversations Magazine and Mississippi Success Magazine. He's an author, best-selling author, social media influencer, and top 100 Amazon.com reviewer. Now, he's been doing this close to 21 years. He's built his brand, Conversations brand, into an internationally recognized force that not just shares the stories of others, but it's making a difference in the way that people see themselves and what is possible. So, over 2 decades, Cyrus Webb has been growing his brand and celebrating 20 years as a host of Conversations Live. But something I want to add, he also has a group of individuals that he works with as a publicist. He just happens to be mine, and I'm so grateful to a friend of mine who told me about him and directed me to connect with him. And it has not been the same. My life, my business, my brand has not been the same since I connected with Cyrus. So I'm going to turn it over to Cyrus Webb and let him tell you a little bit more about himself.
Well, after that introduction, I want to meet him too.
I'm so glad I did.
Look, well, no. First of all, Dr. Velma, let me just say congratulations on all that you've been able to do, not only with this show but also with Dr. Velma Talks. It is my honor to be on with you today. So I appreciate the invite. As you mentioned, I'm Cyrus Webb. That is my real name. People really believe that's not my real name, but I actually was born Cyrus
Oh,
Webb. Cyrus Webb. But as you said, I mean, I think the bio sums it up professionally. I would only add, Dr. Velma, I'm a person who's very passionate about realizing that it doesn't matter where you come from, how
right.
you may see yourself, to realize the God given gift, the potential given to you, and doing all that's in your power to be able to bring that forth. And I
Yes.
think once I realized how to do that, it definitely changed my life. And I just
Mhm.
try to encourage and empower people to do the same thing.
Well, that's what I love about working with you. You don't mind sharing your knowledge and expertise with another person that can help. And that really was the whole idea of this podcast, that I would invite guests to come on board to share their experiences so that someone out there who may be sitting on the fence or even stuck in what they know they have been called to do could use some of the nuggets and insight, because everything you've accomplished didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't a smooth path or a smooth road. And somebody needs to hear what you can share with them to help them to keep going if they've gotten stuck, or the person that's sitting on the sideline doesn't know how to get started. So I was there. I experienced that in the very beginning. So I'm grateful to be able to offer this platform so that others can see the journey of those who are being successful and have become successful, and understand what it takes to keep going, because the difficulties will come. So that leads me to my first question for you,
Mhm.
to tell us a little bit about your journey. What were some of the struggles or obstacles? And it could have occurred in the beginning, it could have occurred as you hit the mountaintop of your business and success, wherever that point was. Tell us, when did it happen? How did it happen? And what can you suggest to others to move forward?
Yeah, so my situation, and I'm always very mindful, Dr. Vim, is that everyone's journey and path is different, right?
Yeah.
So for myself, my biggest obstacles have been up here.
Hmm.
I've never allowed what people told me or said about me. In school, I get all the regular stuff. I'm short. I have four eyes. Nerdy. None of that ever bothered me because I figured some of them will be working for me later on anyway. So
Well,
I never thought about that. I always question, did I really have something special? Now, I want to say for people out there, no one in my family, I was always supported. I just didn't believe it myself.
yeah.
So my biggest obstacle was believing that God had created me for something, which is
Yes.
what led to my suicide attempt. I really didn't feel like I was a person of value. And really the turning point for me was when I was 20. My entire life changed at 20 years old, which is relatively young still, But I'm so glad I did. I was living in New York at the time, Dr. Velma. And after that last suicide attempt, it's
Hmm.
like I could hear God say, "How dare you try
Right.
to take what you can't give?"
Right.
And that just really changed everything for me. So even though I would help people tell me, "Well, you can't do that. You don't have a college education. You don't have this." I never listened to that stuff. So external voices never bothered me anyway. But now that I believed and knew that God had given me something, I just knew it was only a matter of time before everyone else saw it too.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing for me. So that's why I'm so big on telling people about self doubt is real. You have to address it.
Yeah.
Self sabotage is real. I've
Ooh.
self sabotaged myself
Hmm.
even as my career grew because I was like, wait a minute, now I'm getting quoted in the Chicago Tribune. I'm having this person. I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing all of that, you know.
Yep.
So I would slow things down. I would pump the brakes. Um, and it wasn't until probably now it's been almost 8 years ago. I was in a production meeting, a call with the
Hmm.
producers of the Steve Harvey Show, and they wanted to work with me on a project. But they said to me so bluntly, and this was a way. That's why I tell people you always have to work on these things. They said you have the numbers, you have the skill set. We don't know if you have what it takes inside to be what we want you to be. And they literally said to me, "You're running $1 million business like a mom and pop shop."
Hmm.
And I knew that goes back to here. So I said all of that to say that has been my biggest thing. One, to stop getting in God's way, but also to stop putting obstacles myself in my way
Yeah.
because I didn't feel worthy of what was happening around me.
Yeah. I feel that. I really do. When I was faced just recently with trying to decide what direction to go, because I have evolved from the very beginning. So the title of my company didn't fit all the things that I've been doing. I thought I was going to have to throw it all away and get rid of it and start anew. And God just let me know, no, you're not going to start anew. You're just going to change the name. And I was just so relieved about that. But you're so right, Cyrus, that we sometimes get in our head and we
Hmm.
get in the way. And the big thing you said was getting God's way. God
Yeah,
could be leading you in a direction and you don't recognize the direction. It may not have been your choice to go that way, but
hmm,
He's leading you and you have to go that way. So it's about God's choice as well. Well,
yeah.
I just want to ask you my next question with all your experience under your belt. What do you suggest to others who are just unsure of the path they should take to move forward in what they've been given to do? This may be at their beginning, and I heard you say what you tried to do in the beginning, and or it could be somewhere in the middle where they
Yeah.
hit a rough patch. What would you suggest to them if they're unsure?
So, Dr. Verma, one thing I'm very big on is that education doesn't stop. It's just like students of the Bible. We don't read the Bible one time and think we know everything,
Right,
that we remember everything, that we
right,
comprehend everything. The same is true in business and life when it comes to purpose. I think one of the reasons why I've continued to succeed and to rise and thrive is because I am humble enough to realize I will continue to have to learn as long as I'm on this earth.
yes,
I think enough people don't take the time to educate themselves.
right.
They have been given something, but that thing has to be trained. There's a
Hmm.
reason why I believe Paul said to Timothy to study to
Hmm.
show yourself approved.
Yeah.
You have been given something, but that still has to be harnessed, you
Hmm.
know? And I think enough people don't take that time. They think, oh, I have this gift and people are just going to find me. That's not the way this thing works.
No.
you know, I wrote this book and people are just going to find me. No, 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 no. You're not the only one that's written the book.
Been
you know,
there.
you
I'm
know,
trying to show my thing, been there.
right. So we have to, I think that is the thing. We have to be humble enough to know, okay, I have this. I want to do this. Okay, what's going to help me get there?
Yeah.
And sometimes we need help with that, you
Yes.
know, and I tell people, even I, as a mentor and, as a guide, I have people who I look to, right?
Yes.
So we never stop. And I think once we stop, Dr. Velma, that's when we run into trouble. So if you're wondering why you're stagnant, if you're wondering why things aren't happening, you have to look at yourself and say, okay, am I putting myself in the right place? Am I
Right.
sharing the right information? Am I getting the right information? Am I sharing the right information? Because
Right.
if you're not, you can't expect to go somewhere you're not prepared for.
No, not at all. I remember those days in the beginning. I mean, it wasn't working for me to reach out and try to ask for help from individuals that were well on their way with their writing career. It didn't help at all. And that's exactly what I did, what you suggested. I did a deep dive in all the how to books to really understand my journey, understand the literary world. I knew my corporate world, but not the literary world. So I had to understand. And there are rules that govern nonfiction versus fiction. I had to learn all of that. So that I understand what you're saying. So it's not about just sitting stagnant. Sometimes you have to go after the information too,
Right.
and really, like you said, educate yourself. I love that. Now,
Mhm.
you said something earlier about surrounding yourself with friends and people that will support you and help you. And in my book, I refer to this group as the wise counsel. It's good to have. Some people call it their inner circle.
Mhm.
Some people call it their tribe, whatever title you give it. You cannot walk this walk by yourself. So
Right.
it's good to have a really solid group of people. I didn't have a published this at first, but I'm happy I have it now. And through you, I've met other supportive folks on the team that has helped me as well.
Mhm.
So I want to ask you, in terms of a wise counsel or tribe or a supportive group of individuals, what what would be your wisdom that you'd like to leave the audience as if you're part of their wise counsel that you would like to share with them to take along with them on their journey? So what would be that bit of wisdom you want to share with them?
Yeah, I love the example of Paul and Timothy, so I'm going to go back to that. Here you
Hmm.
have two men
Yeah.
who were godly men
Hmm.
who were educated,
Yeah.
but were different ages,
Hmm.
who were able to pour into each other. Paul
Yeah.
talked about how Timothy encouraged and inspired him, just
Hmm.
like he was able to do to Timothy. I
Yeah.
think also about Jonathan and David. So my what I'm getting at, Dr. Velma, is that don't expect them to be the same age.
No.
Don't expect them to be in the same place. They had to write letters to each other. At least we could do emails and text
Hmm.
messages.
Hmm.
And a lot of times what happens, and I get it, people think, oh, well, that means when I say my peers, I'm people my age. And no, because how
No.
can you learn?
Yeah.
Also, don't be afraid of people who know more than you. In fact, those are the people you should seek out.
Yay.
And I want to also say what I have benefited from, and I ask people, you know, I do this in the group. What advice do you all have for me? I don't think I have all the answers. Is there
Hmm.
something? Is there a blind spot? Maybe I'm missing. Is there something? You have to be humble enough to say, all of us, that what? Maybe there's something I'm not thinking about.
Yeah.
What advice did you guys have for me? Do you have
Right.
anything that I can do? You've seen me do that in the group with us at
Yes.
CFP. So I think you have to. That also shows a comfort level with yourself,
Hmm.
but also the humility to know that you can learn from everybody, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's what I would say. Just make sure you're surrounding yourself not with yes people, because I do not like people to always agree with me. You need people who are going to challenge you, but do it out of a right place. You
Right.
need people who are going to be honest with you. You know,
Yes. Yes.
I'm a person. I keep it real with people, but I try to also be mindful of how I do it, because you're not doing it to tear people down, right?
Right.
And we
Right.
can tell when something's coming from love than someone just trying to take a dig at us, or
Right.
whatever. So
Right.
so that's what I would say. Just make sure that you're taking advantage of what's around you, realizing it
Mhm.
may come from a different location, different age group, or even someone that you don't always agree with, but you know what they're telling you is right and it's coming from a good place.
And you can still learn from them.
Yes. Yeah.
I appreciate this, Cyrus. This time has gone by so quickly. Is there anything you'd like to add or share with the audience that maybe we have not covered?
Well, one thing I would say to the host, Dr. Velma Bagby, is I'm so glad that you found your voice and that you've been able to share it in the different ways that you have. I'm so glad you provided a platform like this where other people can have their voices recognized. Because I think a lot of times people don't get that. They don't get
No.
the opportunity to know that they do have something, you
Yeah.
know. And so I appreciate that. And the only thing I would say to the audience is just to trust what God has given you,
Yes.
and you don't always have to know how it's going to end, but the important thing is just to start and let him guide you.
That's true. I love that. So how can they stay connected with you, Cyrus?
I've made it really easy. So you can go to my link tree, which is just my domain name, cyruswebb.com. That'll lead you to all of my social media. So cyruswebb.com. Of course, on social media, if you'd like to just search me there, Cyrus Webb, I'm pretty easy to find.
It's been a pleasure, Cyrus. I'm so excited that you joined me today. So thank you so much for coming in. And I ditto everything you said. Everything he said is the truth because I've experienced it. I've witnessed it. He's an honest guy, very frank and honest. He does not tell you what to do, but he will suggest
Right.
what course of
Thank you,
action.
Dr. Velma. Thank you for that. I hope everyone watching gets that.
Absolutely. He does. Everyone, including someone whose name begins with an N. So I'm
Right.
so grateful that I had you on today. It was such a pleasure. Thank you, Cyrus. And everybody that's listening, make sure you connect with Cyrus. You won't be disappointed. Have a wonderful day.